They're committed to justice and equity for the Asian American community here in Michigan. Hello and thanks for joining us. I'm Laurel Hess and this is Comcast Newsmakers. Joining me now is the Executive Director of the Asian and Pacific Islander American Vote Michigan, Theresa Tran. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Your organization, for a major volunteer organization, not so much anymore, but certainly a nonprofit, you're 8 years old. It's sort of still in your infancy, but been able to accomplish a lot over those 8 years. Why did this organization spring up in the first place? Where and what was the need, and what is it today?
Yeah, so API Vote Michigan started in 2007, and it really was born out of a community group who noticed that Asian Americans weren't registered to vote. I think at that time, and even still nationally, our community tends to register at about 50%, 50 to 55%, which is the lowest compared to any other racial demographic. So we really made a push of all volunteers to register our community to make sure that we knew how to get out and vote, where to go, and why it was important. Because oftentimes our community hasn't had the voice that it deserves or that it has to have in this democracy. And as the fastest growing racial demographic here in Michigan and in the country, it's incredibly important.
And then after you were able to be very successful in that push and really get a much higher percentage registered to vote, but then found the next hurdle was now convincing those folks you're registered, this is why it's important to vote, and this is how to vote.
Yeah, so in Michigan, about 2/3 of the Asian American population is foreign-born. So that means that a huge part of our community has never had a civics class, is limited English proficient, or just has never been to the polls to really understand. And as someone who was born here in the United States and who speaks English very well, it's intimidating for me to go to the polls and understand how to do it. So we've been doing a lot of education in our community about how to vote, understanding the party systems, so that when they go to the polls, they feel confident about what they're doing.
And now certainly those folks that are voting have children who are first generation born fluent English speakers, and you have started, or you have a youth program, your Youth Leadership Corps, where you're now educating those kids on how to further educate their own parents.
Absolutely. So oftentimes young children or adolescent children serve as the interpreters, not just in terms of linguistics and language, but navigating the culture of American culture. And so they are sometimes pushed to grow up a little bit faster, but they play a really key role in teaching and educating their parents, their grandparents about the importance of civic engagement. Because if they don't vote, if they don't get out there into the community, they have no voice. And as I said, as the fastest growing racial demographic in the state, we have districts where Asian Americans can be the difference. Districts where there are 16%, 10% Asian Americans, which is incredible for a state that has only about 4 to 5% Asian Americans.
And you have gotten the attention, I know, of those, at least the state reps, where they have higher percentages of Asian Americans. You've recently launched a legislative caucus, so working on the legislative issues as well. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
For more information on today's topic, you can visit apiavotemi.org. Today's Comcast Newsmaker was Theresa Tran, the Executive Director of the Asian and Pacific Islander American Vote Michigan.